Hari ini kita belajar satu materi yang menarik, Killing the Organization Culture. Hari ini Sir Harry akan membawakannya dan akan diterjemahkan juga oleh Miss Tita. Hari ini spesial, kita punya translator. Silakan.
Thank you very much, Ibu Susan, and thank you, Ibu Tita, for being my translator. Welcome to our 1 hour short seminar today.
Terima kasih sudah bergabung dalam webinar hari ini. Dan webinar ini akan menjadi sesi yang singkat ya, singkat saja 1 jam.
And today we're going to be talking about how we are killing our culture, our organization's culture.
Dan hari ini fokus utamanya topiknya adalah bagaimana kita sebagai pemimpin membunuh budaya di dalam organisasi atau sekolah kita sendiri.
What we want is organizations that have good cultures.
Semuanya pasti mau di sini organisasi yang punya budaya yang baik.
And many speakers talk about what is good culture and how to build good cultures in your organization.
Dan banyak pembicara membahas apa sih budaya yang baik di organisasi dan bagaimana cara membangunnya.
But tonight, we're going to look at the dark side of leadership.
Tapi malam ini kita mau lihat dari sisi gelapnya sebuah kepemimpinan.
And we're going to look at certain behaviors
Kita juga akan lihat beberapa perilaku-perilaku
which affect our culture.
yang mempengaruhi budaya di organisasi kita.
Okay, so the starting point is that culture is important if you want to build strong and sustainable organizations.
Jadi poin awalnya adalah kita tahu bahwa budaya ini satu elemen yang penting untuk membangun organisasi yang kuat dan juga berkelanjutan.
But what do we get in reality? We get cascading tiles, things going down one after the other.
Tapi apa yang kita dapatkan di kehidupan sehari-hari? Hal-hal itu ternyata jatuh dari bawah kayak balok yang jatuh, saling timbun-menimbun.
And always the tiles start from the leader.
Dan selalu balok yang pertama pasti berawal dari pemimpin.
Everyone, I think, will understand that once you have a toxic leadership, your organization will ultimately lose.
Saya percaya bahwa semua orang di sini tahu ketika sudah punya satu kepemimpinan yang toksik, maka selanjutnya akan not good.
So we know that this is the start of the new financial year for most companies.
Semua berawal dari ini financial.
Untuk menghitung untung. Now, for schools, it's going to be the end of the academic year. Untuk sekolah, it's going to be the end of the academic year.
Kalau untuk sekolah itu pasti akan ada akhir tahun ajaran.
So this is a good time for the next 1 hour to look at some toxic behaviors.
Jadi ini waktu yang tepat, 1 jam ke depan kita tahu bersama apa sih perilaku yang toksik.
Now, there are many toxic behaviors, but because we only have 1 hour, I'm going to look at 7 of them.
Ada banyak sekali perilaku toksik, tapi akan ada 7 poin utama yang saya bahas.
And I'm going to ask you to listen very carefully and see if you recognize yourself in any of these toxic behaviors.
Dan saya mau Bapak Ibu perhatikan baik-baik dan juga coba identifikasi apakah ada salah satu perilaku ini yang kita lakukan juga.
Don't be shy. This is a private session.
Jangan malu karena ini sesi yang personal ya.
So I'm not going to ask you to share your discoveries later.
Jadi Sir Harry nggak akan tanya nanti udah dapat identifikasi apa aja nih, enggak.
Just keep it secret and learn about a little bit about yourself, right? So let's start from the beginning. So 3 things you will do, 7 different aspects of how you kill your culture.
7 aspek yang berbeda.
We will reflect and examine our own practices and behavior.
Yang kedua akan merefleksikan dan juga mengevaluasi bagaimana perilaku kita sehari-hari.
And third, I want you to think about how you would self-help yourself to stop these toxic behaviors.
Terakhir, bagaimana nanti kita bisa cari tahu cara menolong diri sendiri untuk menghentikan perilaku toksik ini.
Okay, so let's start with toxic behavior, disease number 1.
Kita mulai dari penyakit yang pertama nih.
Look at that picture on the right of your screen.
Boleh lihat kanan screen Bapak Ibu?
Do you see one person in a big hole?
Apakah kelihatan ada satu orang di lubang yang sangat besar?
Do you see the little small ladder for him to get out of the hole?
Apakah kelihatan ada satu tangga kecil di sana untuk keluar?
Is that tangga kecil enough for him to climb out?
Kira-kira tangga kecilnya cukup nggak ya untuk bantu orang ini keluar?
Does he have direction of where he's going?
Ada nggak ya cara atau arah dia keluar?
The answer, of course, is no, no, and no.
Jawabannya pasti tidak.
And this is the disease number 1.
Nah, inilah penyakit yang pertama.
This person in the hole represents your employee or your teacher.
Orang di tengah ini merepresentasikan karyawan Bapak Ibu ataupun guru-guru Bapak Ibu.
I use guru because many people in the audience are principals, leaders of schools, and teachers.
Jadi Sir Harry pakai term guru-guru juga ya, karena banyak di sini pemimpin sekolah juga, ada kepala sekolah dan lain-lain.
So this is what your employee usually feels when he
Nah,
gets
inilah
no guidance,
Jadi inilah yang sebenarnya karyawan Bapak Ibu rasakan kalau nggak ada
no
arahan,
empowerment, and no support.
tidak ada pemberdayaan, tidak ada dukungan.
So let's look at each of this very quickly. Yeah. First one is no guidance.
Oke, yang pertama, tidak ada pengarahan.
And many leaders are happy to just be the leader without giving any direction.
Banyak sekali pemimpin itu senang menjadi seorang pemimpin, tapi tidak pernah kasih arah ke bawahannya.
Good leadership needs you to act as a mentor to the people who report to you.
Pemimpin yang baik harusnya bisa berperan sebagai seorang mentor untuk membimbing.
There are many ways to look at this.
Banyak sekali hal yang kita bisa lihat.
I look at it from a very different perspective.
Sir Harry di sini lihat dari perspektif yang sangat berbeda.
I tell you, I like to train people to do my job so that I can be lazy.
Sir Harry ini suka sekali ngelatih orang-orang biar bisa nanti didelegasikan tugasnya. Jadi Sir Harry tinggal diam, duduk, terima jadi.
Correct. I don't have to check everything so long as
Ya,
I'm
enggak.
giving proper mentorship and guidance to the people who report to me.
Jadi nggak perlu lagi capek-capek Sir Harry cek satu-satu. Selama dari awal Sir Harry udah kasih petunjuk dengan jelas. Jadi semuanya pasti udah clear.
The second element of this disease is you don't empower the people below you.
Poin kedua dari penyakit ini adalah tidak adanya pemberdayaan gitu ya untuk orang-orang di bawah Bapak Ibu.
We don't let them make decisions. And I find that very strange.
Kadang kita nggak kasih kesempatan untuk mereka buat keputusan sendiri.
And at the same time, our Indonesian culture, and let me tell you that I've been in Indonesia long enough to compare with cultures outside Indonesia. The one problem with Indonesian culture is no one wants to make a decision.
Tapi budaya di Indonesia ini kebanyakan nggak ada yang mau buat keputusan.
And even when you give people the empowerment, I say to you, okay, you decide. They don't want to decide.
Bahkan sekalipun kita kasih percayaan sepenuhnya nih, oke silakan diputuskan, tapi tetap orang tersebut nggak mau
They will always come
memutuskan.
back to you with two A and B and ask you which one is better, Pak.
Akan selalu pasti akan datang lagi ke bosnya, ke leadernya, yang mana nih Pak, yang opsi A atau opsi B.
Now, the third element is no support, where you tell the people you want them to do something, but very often you don't support them in time, you don't give them money, you don't support them with assistance and not enough resources to complete the task.
Dan yang terakhir adalah kadang kita lupa untuk memberikan support. Kita kasih tanggung jawab ke orang, tapi lupa kalau kita harus support secara waktu, secara finansial, secara pendampingan, dan banyak hal lainnya.
So let's go to disease number 2.
Sekarang
Now,
kita ke penyakit yang kedua.
so if you're one of the, before we go to disease number 2, if you're a type of boss who's guilty of disease number 1, I hope that you will take note of it.
Jadi Bapak Ibu kalau misalnya ada nih yang ngerasa, oh saya ada bagian di penyakit nomor 1, jangan lupa dicatat baik-baik ya.
And don't forget, don't let your employers be like the little man in the hole in the picture,
Yeah.
all right?
Jangan biarkan karyawan Bapak Ibu jadi salah satu orang yang di lubang besar tersebut seperti di gambar.
Right, let's go to disease number 2. Look at the picture again.
Silakan lihat gambarnya kembali.
There are some organizations that have a lot of meetings.
Banyak organisasi yang punya banyak sekali pertemuan.
They feel that if they have a meeting, they are doing work.
Jadi mereka ngerasa kalau ada pertemuan, ada meeting, oh berarti lagi kerja.
If there are no meetings, means nothing is being done.
Kalau tidak ada pertemuan, nggak ada meeting, berarti nggak ada yang selesai sama sekali.
But what happens at these meetings? One person is talking, 10 people are there, 3 of them are relevant, but the other 7 are just sitting there and wasting their time.
Jadi apa yang terjadi? Kita lihat dari contoh. 1 orang aja yang ngomong, dari 10 orang yang mendengar, 3 mungkin mendengarkan, tapi 7 lainnya nggak tahu ngapain, bahkan ngerasa kalau mereka lagi buang-buang waktu.
But they feel that they have work because they had a lot of meetings.
Tapi ngerasa pada kerja karena banyak sekali pertemuannya.
They show you their electronic diaries full of meetings from Monday to Saturday.
Oke, kasih lihat banyak jadwal pertemuannya dari Senin sampai Sabtu, penuh jadwalnya.
My question is always, was the communication effective?
Nah, pertanyaannya apakah komunikasi di dalam pertemuan itu efektif?
Effective. Are you communicating what you need to communicate in a proper time, and are you communicating it to the correct person?
Apakah selama ini kita sudah berkomunikasi di waktu yang tepat dan juga ke orang yang tepat dengan cara yang tepat juga?
Very often, leaders give these 3 problems: information gaps, miscommunication, and especially tasks and goals are unclear.
Secara umum banyak pemimpin-pemimpin yang punya masalah komunikasi ini. Yang pertama, ada celah di antara informasi yang didapatkan. Yang kedua, miskomunikasi. Yang ketiga adalah tugasnya dan tujuan tersebut itu nggak jelas.
Let me tell you a story.
Sir Harry akan kasih tahu sebuah cerita.
I was a very young lawyer in the late 80s, and I was given a task to organize lunch.
Sir Harry akhir tahun 80-an ya, Sir Harry masih muda sekali dan diminta untuk ngatur sebuah makan siang.
And my boss was a horrible boss. He didn't tell me anything. He just said, there's going to be lunch, 30 people, and there's going to be a 20-minute address by the guest of honor. That's all he said.
Bosnya Sir Harry waktu itu buruk banget. Cuman ngasih tahu nanti ada makan siang, ada 30 orang, sekitar 20 menit ya, tolong diatur.
I, of course, organized a lovely lunch from a hotel near my office.
Tentunya Sir Harry menyiapkan makan siang yang sangat baik ya.
And the menu had roast beef, roast chicken, and roast pork.
Jadi menunya ada daging
Roast
bakar
beef,
ya, terus ada
roast
ayam
beef,
bakar sama
babi panggang. And of course, because it was a very high-class lunch, I arranged for half of the pig to be roasted in front of the guests.
Ini spesial banget makan siangnya, udah Sir Harry atur, bahkan udah pesan tengah daging babi itu ya Sir, untuk dipanggang nanti di tengah-tengah meja, disantap bersama.
So my guests started to arrive.
Tamu mulai berdatangan.
And they were all very top lawyers from Saudi Arabia.
Jadi mereka adalah pengacara top tapi dari Saudi Arabia.
Right. No one bothered to tell me that they were all Muslim.
Nggak ada yang dari awal ngasih tahu kalau mereka semua Muslim ternyata.
Of course, I was very embarrassed. I make them wheel out the babi panggang out of the room. And of course, I got into trouble with my boss, this horrible boss. He said, why didn't you? And you know, that's an information gap. I was not told properly important information that I needed to organize my lunch.
Ya, jadi tentunya Sir Harry kena blunder banget, malu. Intinya Sir Harry disalahkan sama bosnya.
There you have a clear information gap. And the real question is, are you communicating enough? Are you giving the correct information, enough of information to the correct person to make sure that your employee succeeds?
Selama berkomunikasi, apakah sudah melakukan ini? Memberikan informasi yang benar, informasinya cukup, ke orang yang tepat, sehingga mereka bisa benar-benar melakukan semuanya dengan baik.
Because very often as leaders, we don't have a lot of time.
Kadang kita sebagai pemimpin juga nggak punya cukup waktu.
And we tend to assume that our employees understand what you want.
Cenderung berpikir kalau karyawannya udah pada tahu apa yang kita mau.
Employees are not, they do not have sixth sense. They cannot read your mind.
Karyawan itu nggak punya indera keenam, nggak bisa baca pikiran Bapak Ibu.
It's sometimes worth to sit down and think about what you've communicated to your employee.
Kita perlu untuk duduk dan pikirkan kembali apakah tadi sudah komunikasikan informasi yang benar ke karyawannya.
I usually write down whatever I want to say.
Kadang Sir Harry juga tulis dulu apa yang Sir Harry mau sampaikan, semua poin-poin utamanya.
And because my bahasa Indonesian is very 40 upon 100 ya, dinilai 40 dari 100. So I have an extra problem.
Karena Sir Harry juga ada kendala di bahasa Indonesia, maka Sir Harry punya masalah tambahan nih dari segi bahasa.
But you should have no problem. So be clear about what you're saying, to who you're saying, and is that enough to ensure that your employee succeeds in the task.
Pastikan sudah cukup informasinya ke orang yang tepat. Nggak ada masalah kan semua Bapak Ibu dalam bahasa Indonesia gitu. Jadi harusnya bisa jauh lebih baik.
Here is my last, a nice quote for disease number 2. Always have direction, because direction is more important than speed. Because too many people are going nowhere fast. They're just running round and round looking busy and collecting the check, the gaji at the end of the month. Okay, so have direction, more important than speed.
Pastikan selalu punya arah. Lebih penting arah daripada kecepatan. Cepat mungkin dalam hal untuk menyelesaikan kerjaan. Karena banyak sekali orang yang tidak mencapai tujuannya dengan cepat. Itu nggak kemana-mana tapi berusaha mau cepat.
Very busy, sibuk, kelihatan sibuk.
Sibuk sekali kelihatannya.
But not doing anything.
Tapi nggak ada yang dicapai.
Okay.
Nggak ada yang dicapai.
Okay, so let's look at disease number 3, ladies and gentlemen.
Ya, kita lihat ke penyakit yang ketiga, Bapak Ibu.
Here's a quote from Jackson Brown. Don't forget, a person's greatest emotional need is to feel appreciated.
Satu quote dari Jackson Brown, jangan lupa bahwa kebutuhan emosional manusia yang terbesar adalah untuk merasa diapresiasi.
And a lot of us forget to appreciate our
Dan banyak dari
employees.
kita lupa untuk mengapresiasi karyawan kita
Your
sendiri.
employee is a human being.
Karyawan Bapak Ibu tuh ya manusia.
We say that, but sometimes we don't act like that.
Kita ngomong, iya mereka manusia, tapi kadang kita lupa memanusiakan mereka.
Even your office boy needs appreciation. He needs to be recognized as a member of your team.
Ya, bahkan office boy juga harus diakui ya bahwa mereka adalah bagian dari tim.
I'm not saying I'm a perfect leader, but I will tell you what I do. I actually say good morning to every one of the OBs that I meet. Everybody. I always say good morning.
Ya, Sir Harry mungkin bukan leader yang sempurna ya, tapi Sir Harry selalu memberi salam, menyapa bahkan semua OB setiap pagi.
Even though I'm busy, you need to recognize everyone that you meet in your organization and say hello. Don't be so pelit with your humane treatment.
Sekalipun Sir Harry lagi sibuk banget, setiap papasan dengan orang pasti disapa gitu. Jangan terlalu pelit untuk menyapa orang.
I know a lot of people will deny. They'll say, no, I'm very nice to my employees. My question is, are you really interested to recognize every member of your working community? That's my question to you.
Banyak mungkin dari kita yang akan menyangkal, ya enggak kok, saya baik, pemimpin yang
Selalu
baik.
senyum.
Tapi bener nggak gitu? Apakah benar-benar kita ngelakuin itu?
So here's a challenge for you. When was the last time you told someone they did a good job? It's a simple question.
Kapan terakhir kali Bapak Ibu mengapresiasi karyawan Bapak Ibu atau guru-guru di sekolah?
Just saying, hey, that was good. Thank you.
Cukup
Nah,
bilang,
If you haven't
ya yang
done
tadi
it,
itu bagus, makasih.
if you haven't done it, please start doing it.
Kalau misalnya belum dilakukan, ayo mulai dari sekarang coba lakukan.
Make it a habit.
Buat
That
itu
you,
sebagai sebuah kebiasaan.
kebiasaan that you do, because that defines you as a leader.
Karena dari kebiasaan itulah yang nanti akan merepresentasikan kita sebagai seorang pemimpin.
I will just share another quick story with you.
Satu cerita singkat,
I was the acting dirut of a bank for about 6 months. This was in 2000 and about 2008 or 9.
Sir Heri waktu itu di sekitar tahun 2008, 2009 adalah seorang direktur utama di sebuah bank.
It was a foreign bank, small foreign bank. But I
Kayak
got
bank
to
asing.
know every single one of the employees in the bank.
Tapi saya harus benar-benar tahu siapa setiap orang yang ada di bank tersebut.
And the ex-CEO, the director utama who left, one of the things he warned me about is that his staff would never stay late.
Jadi mantan CEO, mantan direktur utamanya selalu ngasih tahu kalau dia mau semua karyawannya itu nggak ada yang lembur.
No one.
Nggak satu pun.
5:30, they all left. The whole office became empty. Okay?
Jam pulang 5:30 semua harus pulang.
Then I started saying hello to everyone and started to get to know them. Only 3 months. When there was
Sir
work
Heri,
to be done, the work was done. They stayed and they finished their work.
dan dari situ dalam 3 bulan Sir Heri udah tahu semua karyawannya, udah nyapa semuanya, setiap orang yang Sir Heri temuin. Dan juga semua harus pulang, langsung pulang kalau memang udah jam kerja selesai.
And I asked the secretary, my secretary, I said, why is it now people are staying? And her answer was simple. Because they feel appreciated. I used to just go and buy nasi goreng. I would go downstairs and buy the nasi goreng and bring it up to all my staff and distribute it was a small team, only 10 of them. And I would distribute the makan nasi goreng in the night. And they said, oh, because you appreciate us. So, we felt, yeah, of course we stay and work, no problem.
Jadi kalau misalnya ada satu kesempatan harus lembur, mereka nggak ada masalah gitu. Karena mereka merasa ya bosnya, leadernya mengapresiasi ya. Sir Heri cukup lakukan satu hal kecil, turun ke bawah beli nasi goreng, ya, dan kasih ke semua karyawan walaupun cuma 10 orang gitu. Tapi mereka merasa diapresiasi, dihargai.
So appreciate your people, everyone, okay? If you don't appreciate them, learn to at least fake appreciation. At least learn to fake appreciation. That's what you're paid to do. You're the leader of the group. Okay?
Oke, jadi leaders mulai dari sekarang, mulailah untuk apresiasi karyawan-karyawannya. Kalau masih belum bisa, coba yang palsu pun dimulai dari
Never mind.
hal-hal yang palsu, nggak
Palsu,
apa-apa.
so nggak apa-apa. Okay.
Gitu.
Right.
Setidaknya diapresiasi.
Okay. Now, this is disease number 4. Look at the girl.
Oke.
How's her
Ini
battery?
penyakit yang
Batterinya
keempat.
gimana? Batterinya gimana? Does anyone here feel like that sometimes? Yes.
Ada yang kadang merasa seperti wanita di gambar ini, udah nggak ada lagi energinya.
Baterainya udah 1 bar lagi, sudah mau tumbang. Is that the right word? Sudah mau tumbang. Yes.
Ya.
And this is why a lot of us, we don't recognize the burnout in the people in our office. We forget to look out for signs of burnout.
Oke. Jadi ini salah satu hal yang kita harus sadari, Bapak Ibu, kadang kita lupa kalau ternyata karyawan-karyawan, guru-guru juga udah capek banget.
And this is why, because in the 1980s and 1990s, we all praised hard work.
Inilah kenapa
because in the 1980s and 1990s, we all praised people who worked hard.
Oke. Di sekitaran tahun 90-an ya, semua orang pasti akan memuji siapapun yang sudah bekerja keras.
Now, the world has changed because younger people are not interested anymore in hard work. What they are interested in is producing high quality work.
Tapi dunia sudah berubah. Sekarang orang-orang muda nggak tertarik lagi untuk bekerja keras, tapi mereka tertarik bagaimana bekerja menghasilkan sesuatu yang memiliki kualitas yang baik.
And they're always asking, what do you need by when?
Mereka selalu bertanya apa yang kamu butuhkan dan kapan dibutuhkan.
Because that's the new employees that we have.
Yaitu karyawan-karyawan baru ya seperti itu.
And let me don't say we lah, saya. I as a kolot
Oke, Sir
Old
Heri.
man, yes. You know,
Mm-mm.
I come from a culture where hard
Mhm.
work is good.
Jadi Sir Heri datang dari sebuah budaya yang di mana kerja keras itu baik.
I worked in a law firm for 14 years,
Oke, jadi Sir Heri kerja di firma hukum selama
14
14
tahun.
tahun.
And I tell you, no one in my office went home before jam 8 malam.
Dan gak ada satupun di kantornya Sir Heri yang pulang sebelum jam 8 malam.
Every day, including
Setiap hari.
Saturdays until 4 o'clock, people are still in the office.
Bahkan sampai hari Sabtu jam 4 sore pun orang-orang masih di kantor.
Because we were competing to become partners.
Karena kita semua bersaing ya untuk jadi partners,
Jadi mitra, big
jadi
money,
mitra.
from employee to big money, right? And everyone was
Ya.
competing to become a partner. And the idea is that if you need to work hard, otherwise you're not an effective employee.
Caranya untuk dapat itu ya harus kerja keras. Kalau enggak, ya nggak bisa.
Now, what this results in is burnout in your office space and in your schools.
Tapi dampak negatifnya adalah kalau kerja keras yang banyak, jadinya burnout, jadinya kecapean.
So 20 years ago, we believed that overtime is good for the company.
20 tahun yang lalu kita percaya kalau orang kerja lembur itu baik untuk perusahaan.
But here's the problem in 2024.
Tapi ini masalah di tahun 2024.
The answer is, why are you so inefficient that you cannot finish your work by 5 o'clock and go home?
Pertanyaannya adalah kenapa sih nggak bisa bekerja dengan efektif sampai harus lembur?
There are very few jobs which require you to lembur actually, and very few times in a year, because work is cyclical, right? Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down.
Jadi sedikit sekali sebenarnya kerjaan yang mengharuskan kita untuk kerja lembur, gitu. Bahkan hanya ada di waktu-waktu tertentu aja.
But what happens in the workplace now in toxic companies is leaders require you to stay late. Gitu aja.
Tapi apa yang terjadi sekarang di perusahaan-perusahaan yang toksik, pemimpin-pemimpinnya mau karyawannya tuh lembur, gitu ya,
That's
kerja.
all. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Don't leave the office until your boss has left the office.
Gak peduli mau ngapain kayak di kantor, yang penting stay di kantor sampai bosnya pulang baru boleh pulang.
If you are contributing to this kind of culture, please stop.
Kalau ada misalnya dari antara Bapak Ibu yang terlibat juga dalam budaya yang seperti ini, mohon untuk berhenti dari sekarang.
That is my recommendation to you.
Rekomendasi dari Sir Heri ya untuk berhenti.
Okay. The last thing on this slide is Parkinson's Law. Di bawah, baca aja.
Oke, jadi yang terakhir ada dari slide ini adalah tentang Parkinson's Law ya. Secara singkat sebenarnya pekerjaan itu akan selalu bertambah untuk ngisi waktu yang memang diproporsikan untuk kerjaan. Jadi kalau semakin banyak waktunya, akan ada terus kerjaannya yang masuk. Seperti itu.
No, you will if I tell you your deadline is Monday, you will spend the weekend to do it. If I tell you the deadline is tomorrow, Saturday morning, you will only spend one day to do it. You always take your time and wait for the deadlines.
Ya, jadi ya pasti kalau dikasih kerjaan, tunggu mepet waktunya baru dikerjakan. Cukup waktu yang singkat untuk kerjain sebenarnya.
Now, these are behaviors that should be discouraged.
Ini adalah perilaku-perilaku yang harusnya diberhentikan.
We're almost at the end. Be patient, everybody. Yeah, we are number 5, disease number 5, and it's about micromanagement. Leaders who like to micromanage. Now, for those who are not clear about micromanagement adalah di mana bos suka sekali lihat rincian-rincian yang kecil-kecil, dimarahin ini, dimarahin itu, di change ini, berubah, ini diubah, semuanya harus campur. Bukan input ya, tapi ada keputusan dari bos. Kamu jangan buat keputusan, saya bos, saya mau lihat semua line by line sama pensil satu-satu. Tidak, ini tidak. Ganti warna ini, ganti warna itu. For everything. Nah, ini masalah micromanagement. In this new, kalau sekarang 2024, the new employee itu tidak suka di micromanage. Mereka suka kalau goals, deliverable, time sama resourcesnya sudah di ini. Oke, silakan. Ini yang saya mau lihat. Hasilnya begini. Silakan aja. And then they like to work and organize themselves to keep the goals, to achieve the goals. These are 6 reasons why sebagai leader, sebagai pemimpin, kita selalu suka micromanage. So I'm just going to let you read. Jadi ada 6 reasons gimana kelahiran pemimpin yang suka micromanage. Jadi Miss Tita akan penjelasan ya, ini satu-satu. And as when Miss Tita is explaining, tolong pikirkan dan introspeksi permisa-permisa ya. Apakah kita jadi micromanager karena alasan-alasan ini? Silakan Miss Tita.
Oke, jadi penyakit yang kelima ini ya, Bapak Ibu, awal mula ada micromanagement ini lahir. Yang pertama, kurangnya kepercayaan di dalam tim, gitu. Lalu poin yang kedua, kontrol dari bos makin bertambah, itu makin banyak, gitu.
Oke, saya akan coba. Let me try my bahasa now. Lack of team self-sufficiency. Kita merasa bahwa tim itu tidak cukup dari segi kepintaran, tidak cukup dengan pengalaman. Jadi semuanya kita yang mau buat keputusan. Tapi pertanyaan saya selalu, kalau mereka tidak buat keputusan dan gagal, kapan mereka akan belajar? Kita semua belajar ketika kita gagal. Orang yang tidak pernah gagal itu belum pernah buat apa-apa dengan kehidupan mereka. Betul? If you have never failed, you have never done anything in your life. You have always succeeded by doing nothing. Terampilan yang jadi menurun. You feel, aduh, kalau dibiarin aja tim ini. Nah, ini beda dari monitoring ya. Sebagai pemimpin kita harus monitor. We are still responsible for monitoring the team's performance. When I say micromanagement, that means even the smallest detail, you mau campur aduk, you want to campur your tangan because you totally don't trust your team. And it's a symptom of not trusting your team. Okay? So it's a lack of leadership trust. Itu disease nomor 5. So if you're a micromanager, think about what you can do to stop this. Learn where to draw the line. Di mana kita stop micromanaging. Yang kecil-kecil, hal yang kecil, yang sepele, biarin aja. Kalau mereka salah, ya biasalah. Biarin aja. Karena kalau mereka belum gagal, mereka tidak akan belajar. Just as a joke for nomor 5 ya, Ma'am Ailing sama saya, we don't like to micromanage sebenarnya. Dan banyak sekali komiti-komiti kita sudah tahu, ala ini itu disaster. Nah, kalau disasternya kita bisa terima, kalau kegagalannya kita terima, nanti Ma'am Ailing sama saya akan bilang, ya udah let them try aja. Let them fail, it's okay. Biarin, let them learn what it's like to fail. Okay, as long as the price, harga atau whatever we are going to pay is not too high, yeah. We just let them decide and fail. It's okay. Okay. Number 6. This one is about modeling. Tita, negative attitudes and actions.
Yang penyakit yang keenam, Bapak Ibu, adalah perilaku yang negatif.
And actions. Dan cara bekerja. We are models for our employees.
Jadi kita adalah teladan ya untuk karyawan-karyawan kita.
If we don't model good behavior, then we are being hypocrites. Kita yang munafik. Is that right, Tita? Munafik.
Iya. Jadi kalau misalnya kita nggak jadi contoh yang baik, maka kita sebagai leader itu ya munafik sebenarnya.
One school that I went to, this was their biggest complaint. You know, this school was a very good school in a different country, not in Indonesia. And And the biggest complaint from the teachers was that the principal would park his car inside the school compound.
Oke, jadi ini ada pengalaman dari Sir Harry, salah satu sekolah yang dikunjungi. Komplain yang paling utama dari guru-guru itu adalah kepala sekolahnya akan parkir mobil ya, di dalam sekolah gitu.
I didn't understand why they were so angry about it, but according to the teachers, they had a rule. There was no space, so everyone had to park outside the school.
Oh, dan Sir Harry waktu itu bingung kenapa harus marah, dan ternyata sudah ada peraturan kalau kita nggak punya ruang lagi untuk parkir. Jadi semua yang mau parkir harus di luar sekolah.
But it wasn't about that, because this principal, after making the rule, started parking his car inside the school.
Tapi poinnya adalah kepala sekolah ini dia yang buat aturan, tapi ternyata pas sudah buat aturan dia sendiri yang parkir mobil di dalam.
Now, another lesson I learned is be very careful how you behave in a meeting.
Oke, selanjutnya adalah hati-hati banget kalau misalnya mau berperilaku di dalam sebuah pertemuan, meeting.
Because all your
Bersikap.
employees are also watching your sikap. All your employees are watching how you behave.
Oke, semua karyawan Bapak Ibu juga akan perhatikan bagaimana sikap Bapak Ibu selama meeting.
And you must have a positive growth mindset. You must.
Dan Bapak Ibu harus punya pemikiran yang positif ya.
Yeah, and growth has to be berkembang, selalu develop, yang diberkembangkan. Now, you must never say it's too difficult. We can't
Jadi
do
Bapak
this.
Ibu nggak boleh ngomong ini terlalu susah, kita nggak bisa ngelakuin ini.
If it is too hard to do, kalau tugas atau tujuannya terlalu susah untuk dicapai, itu kita sebagai pemimpin yang belum buat ukuran atau calculation yang benar. Okay?
Jadi
We ask them to do something they can't do. It's your fault as a leader.
Jadi kalau misalnya ada tujuan yang benar-benar susah sekali dicapai, berarti sebagai pemimpin kita benar-benar belum mempertimbangkan hal-hal yang bisa kita capai, yang mana yang belum bisa, yang mana.
Right. So, assuming it is something that can be done, go ahead and get it done, even if it's difficult to do.
Oke. Jadi mengasumsikan kalau sesuatu yang bisa dilakukan, diselesaikan, ya diselesaikan, walaupun sebenarnya nggak bisa.
Now, this is the last but not the smallest problem of toxic behavior of leaders, okay? And it's about
Ini yang terakhir.
favoritism.
Ini yang terakhir, tapi bukan yang paling
Bukan yang terakhir.
Bukan yang terakhir.
Ada banyak sekali ya, ada banyak sekali masalah. But this is
Ada
the
banyak.
last for tonight.
Tapi ini untuk malam ini.
Favoritism?
Is it pilih kasih, Sir?
Yes.
Pilih kasih ya.
Because
Yeah.
pilih kasih causes a lot more problems than you think in your organization.
Iya, karena pilih kasih ini kadang menimbulkan banyak masalah di organisasi Bapak Ibu sendiri.
It doesn't mean don't praise,
Ini bukan berarti nggak boleh memuji,
but praise intelligently.
tapi coba untuk
Dengan-
memuji secara
Where it's deserving.
memuji dengan porsinya ya,
Yeah.
yang sesuai.
Now in football, dalam main bola ada satu pepatah kata.
Dalam sepak bola ada satu pepatah,
Don't play the ball. Are you playing the ball or are you playing the man? Apakah kita main dengan bolanya atau kita main dengan orangnya? Okay. Now a lot of leaders, if this comes from my favorite teacher, it must be a good idea. If this idea comes from my favorite employee or my favorite teacher, it must be a good idea.
Kalau misalnya ide itu munculnya dari guru kesayangan atau dari karyawan yang
Karyawan emas.
saya sukai, itu pasti ide yang bagus. Tapi kalau
Yes.
misalnya munculnya dari karyawan yang nggak saya suka atau yang biasa-biasa aja, saya pertimbangkan dulu.
Yes, you got the right Miss Susan. Yeah. And it's a problem of prefer versus perform. We
Yeah.
forget the performance, the person who performed it. What was the quality of the work that was done?
Kadang-kadang kita karena favoritisme ini kita lupa ya bahwa kita harusnya lebih mengutamakan dari performansi kerja dia ya, kinerja kerjanya.
Okay, so those are the 7 things. So we're now coming to the last. We're
Yes.
going to now do some reflection on
Iya.
your behaviors
Kita sekarang coba mereflek bagaimana perilaku kita.
and how are you killing your
Bagaimana,
organization?
bagaimana kita sedang membunuh tempat kerja kita ya.
Okay, now here I'm going to list out the 7 again.
Ini ada 7 yang akan di list out oleh Mr. Harry
And
supaya
as
kita
I'm listing them
merefleksi.
out, yes,
Ya,
retrospect for yourself.
ya,
And then that will be the end of our session and I'll take questions. So here are
ya.
the 7.
Jadi ada 7 ya Bapak Ibu, kita ulang lagi sambil direfleksikan gitu. Yang pertama kepemimpinan yang tidak efektif, yang kedua komunikasi yang kurang, betul. Yang ketiga kurangnya juga apresiasi, yang keempat karyawan kelelahan gitu ya, burnout secara emosional, secara fisikal tuh. Yang kelima micromanagement, terlalu banyak perintilan yang kita sebagai leader itu pusingin, yang nggak harusnya dipusingin. Yang keenam, perilaku atau sikap yang toksik. Dan yang terakhir, ketujuh, favoritism atau pilih kasih ke employee-employee tertentu.
So ladies and gentlemen, this is almost the end of the presentation. And I leave you, I'm sure you have your own horror stories. I'm not going to ask you to share your views, but I will take questions after this. Thank you, Miss Tita, and
Yeah, thank you, sir.
over to you, Susan, for the Q&A. I will stop sharing my screen. I see lots of people have put lots of comments, I see.
Yes.
I didn't have a chance to read them, but a round of applause for Miss Tita for a great job.
Oke.
Thank you,
Miss
sir.
Tita.
Terima kasih Miss Tita, luar biasa. Menerjemahkan Sir Harry itu sesuatu yang sulit loh, Miss. You pass the test. Oke.
More than pass, Miss. More than pass.
Oh, more than pass ya. Oke, baik. Mr. Eric sudah raise hand. Silakan Sir Eric.
Go ahead,
I
Eric.
know you have a lot of question about this.
Okay, hi sir, how are you?
Hi, I'm well, thank you.
Okay, so I just want to ask questions about the last disease, favoritism. I'm confused whether this behavior can be considered as favoritism or not. So I want to run it by you. So obviously, when we work with in a group, there are certain people who we, let's say, have the mindset as us, right? So we tend to work with these people over and over again, and that can be seen as we putting a lot of preventional treatment to this type of person. Now, do you think that count as a favoritism, or is another word that I'm looking for, sir?
I think the word is favoritism. If you start saying, Eric, I only want to work with Harry, Tita, Susan, and Ibu Yus. I only want to work. Then that becomes favoritism, because then it's very clear who is your acceptable group of employees. But if it is a question of rotating, for example, all right, so Tita has had the experience doing this. Susan has no experience, but let's put Tita and Susan together so that Susan can learn from Tita and Tita brings her experience, so you're going to have better outcomes for your project. Now, in that situation, Eric, it's not favoritism. It's favoritism as soon as we say it's negative favoritism, right? So it's like branding, cap. You cap, tidak mau, tidak bagus. Now that's negative favoritism. But wanting to work with people that you like in a group, I don't think it's favoritism. In our school, like for example, Eric, in some departments, the same people keep doing things over and over again. And I pity them. Saya kasihan. Because I feel like, let somebody else do it. They also get bored, no variety. They're always doing the same thing. And so to answer your question, I think it's very clear favoritism if you only want. You start being exclusive about it. Then that, I think, is a negative thing to do. I hope I've answered your question, Eric.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sir Eric. Do you have another question, sir?
Selamat
Itu
malam,
okay.
Miss Susan.
Oke, Pak Sulis silakan.
Silakan,
Sulis.
Pak.
Ya, terima kasih, Mr. Harry. Ketika Mr. Harry menjelaskan tadi yang ada di kepala saya itu, kalau saya seorang guru atau dosen, bukan seorang direktur, bukan seorang kepala sekolah. Apakah ketujuh hal tadi juga bisa berlaku ketika saya seorang guru yang memanage kelas ataupun dosen yang memanage kelas? Itu saja pertanyaan saya. Terima kasih banyak.
Terima kasih Pak Sulis. Tentu ya, kerana whatever, apa-apa role kita di dalam organisasi, kita pasti adalah pemimpin untuk sebagian orang. So as a docent, for example, Pak, you are also leading your class, you are managing your class, you are managing the students. So, I believe that all 7 of these, and this is not final list, kan? Ada lebih banyak lagi yang toxic. But yes, to answer your question, they are applicable every time we are leader. Kalau kita jadi pemimpin for any project at any level, this is what we need to do. We need to stop all of these behaviors. I hope saya menjawab, Pak Sulis.
Sangat menjawab, Mr. Harry. Terima kasih
Thank you,
banyak.
Pak.
Terima kasih.
So I see a lot of questions in the micromanager. This comment is that micromanagement is part of character. Does this mean that a detailed person cannot be a leader? No, far from it. Orang yang detail itu a leader must be detail oriented. We are talking about meddling. We are talking about micromanaging in the context of you just want everything your way. You want the wall to be white. You want the floor to be black. You only want kursi begini. You want to choose the color of the ribbon. You want to choose every single thing. It doesn't work anymore. Micromanagement does not work anymore for the millennial employee. It doesn't work. They don't like it. They don't like you standing and looking at them while they make every decision. Okay, so I hope so. I'm not so clearly detail-oriented leaders have a place to play. It doesn't mean that because you're detail-oriented that you should exercise your decision at every single level of your organization. Let other people decide some things. It's called empowerment as well. Let them have a sense of, okay, I can decide some things. The challenge for people is learning di mananya. How do you tell your employee? Kalau begini boxnya, silakan aja. Di luar kotak ini, kamu harus tanya saya. That's the challenge.
Yes, sir. I agree with you ya. For millennial or maybe Gen Z, you cannot do the micromanagement. They don't like to be asked a lot, but they like to ask a lot gitu ya. Ya kan, mereka nggak suka ditanya, tapi mereka sangat suka bertanya. Oke, Sir Eric, back to you.
I want to ask whether we have some kind of tools or a type of questionnaire to help us to, diagnose whether our behavior is killing the organization. Do we have that kind of tools, maybe?
Well, would you like to pay me a nice consultation
Okay.
fee? I'll be happy to sit down for 2 weeks and come up with a nice, simple tool to do. Otherwise, no. I think they are available online. I think even from these 7, you can start, formulating some kind of toolkit where leaders can self-evaluate. And after they self-evaluate, ask somebody to evaluate them. And then you compare your self-perception and persepsi anak buah kita ke kita tentang kemimpinan dan behavior perilaku kita. I think that will give you a very accurate picture of areas. No point to just find out apa masalahnya, right? Sesudah tahu masalahnya, kita harus ambil tindakan. How do we become a better leader? Okay, and next week, by the way, if you come and join, Eric will be presenting the 7 cures for the 7 problems. Jadi paket deal ya, everybody. Minggu ini I tell you the penyakit. Nanti minggu depan Pak Eric akan bahas obatnya. Thank you, Eric.
Okay.
Susan, back to you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, sir. You already do the promotion for us. Baik, Bapak Ibu, apakah ada pertanyaan lagi? Because the time has already 8:09. Okay, ma'am from English Math Fund School say, as you said, most of the employee do not make
Decision.
decision. Maybe
Bisa-
because they afraid to do to take the responsibility like that, sir?
Yes, because of the culture, right, Bu? Karena dalam Indonesia it's better not to make decision. Kalau salah saya bilang je, bukan
Yeah,
saya
I
yang buat
know.
keputusan, bos
Yes.
saya keputusan. It's a very interesting short story, Miss, 30 seconds.
Okay.
I was working on a document book, and one of the teachers was working on the document. It's a 15-page document, ya, 15 halaman. And it was all wrong. And when I asked him, why was it wrong? His reply was, it was approved by my boss. Ya, good, udah. It was approved by my boss. So, that means he has no responsibility anymore because he did not make a decision.
Yeah.
It was approved by my boss. That's the kind of culture we have in Indonesia. Very sad. I'm trying to change it, Bu.
Yes.
Thank you, Bu Susan. Back to you. I think people want to have
Okay.
their dinner already.
Yes, yes. Sir, is that only happen in Indonesia or in
No,
other
it
places as well?
happens in Malaysia. It happens in China. Indians are a bit more brave to make decisions. Of course, the Singaporeans love making decisions, but they are very they are risk averse. They don't like taking risks. So Singapore is also a problem. They don't really want to make decisions. They like somebody else to decide for them. So that if it goes wrong, mereka bilang aja, bukan keputusan saya kan? Ya udah. So I agree with Ibu, English made fun. Sama Bu, mereka semua begitu.
Oke. Baik. Terima kasih banyak. Thank you, Sir Harry, buat malam ini ya, materinya yang sangat luar biasa, insight yang sangat menarik buat kita, dan as a leader or as a kepala sekolah or as a coordinator or whatever lah ya, as long as you are a leader, please avoid the 7 lists that Mr. Harry gave tonight, so we can be a good leader or better leader in tomorrow or maybe in the next day. Okay, Sir Harry? Okay, I think my word no need to translate, Miss Tita. I think everybody has already know because my English not like Mr. Harry. Okay,
Oh.
baik. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, everybody. Terima kasih banyak buat malam hari ini. Terima kasih banyak juga untuk partisipasinya. Oke, terima kasih banyak. Baik, Bapak Ibu semuanya. Sampai kita ketemu lagi minggu depan. Masih tetap sama di 1 jam bersama LTI. Selamat malam, salam sejahtera buat kita semua.
Selamat malam. Thank you everybody for coming.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Pak.
Terima
Bye-bye.
kasih.
Terima
Thanks,
kasih.
Miss Tita.
Terima kasih.
Terima kasih.